Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by lineups.com. Nate and Josh here with you guys on a Wednesday with 7 games in the association. Going to be taking a look at some sides and totals. Also have our player props in this episode, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Coming back each and every weekday this season with all of that in one episode for you guys. So let's get right into the Mike Brown revenge game. We've got the Kings, we've got the Knicks. We're in Sac, and you do like the Knicks to handle business on the road.
Yeah, I mean, not just handle business, right, but lay the smackdown. Mike Brown, people are always going to couch their remarks, but he said, they want to kick our ass and we want to kick their ass. And that's what you want to hear when you have the clearly superior team that can just lay a beat down if they're really motivated and they want to. The concern being this is the front end of a back-to-back. They go to Golden State tomorrow. That can always play two ways for a team, right? It's like, oh, we got to save a little bit. We got to rest guys, or like, let's just sit the whole fourth quarter because let's do our work early. And I think the Knicks, most importantly, more than the revenge narrative, they have nobody on the injury report of consequence. Sorry, Landry Shamet. But Josh Hart is back and playing well. They dominated in Portland despite a massive free throw discrepancy that Denny Avdial will produce. They win that one by 9. They're now 20-9 with Josh Hart this season, 500 without him. Their last 4 road wins with Hart have been by 10 plus points prior to that Portland game. And most of those were against, below 500 teams. Your Knicks they take care of business. They're 51-11 against teams below 500, not against the spread, but straight up. So we're looking at a win, and when the Kings lose, they lose bad, plenty often. Their 20 wins by double digits are the most in the Western Conference, and only the Wizards have more in the NBA. They're coming off these back-to-back wins against Houston and LA. They can have their own therapy session about what the hell's going on with those teams, but let's not forget who the Kings are. Like previous 7, negative 23 net, scoring under 100 points per game, one of the worst rebounding rates in league. Completely ineffective guarding the paint. And now you throw our boy Maxime against Cat. Like it's just like it's barbecue chicken, right? So you can parlay Cat with an adjusted spread as well as just taking this and just assume that the Knicks are going to assert their will down low.
They should, yeah. I think everything is really relevant from at the top of what you said with Josh Hart. Like, I think that's a huge part of all of this with when he's coming in and playing defense on the wing and a little bit of defense down low for sure, but mostly defense on the wing and the ability to rebound and then get into transition. They need all of that. So yeah, that's huge. You mentioned all the numbers with him. I think the 20-9 number that you're talking about actually doesn't even count for the record when he's in the starting lineup. I think they have like still 4 losses when he's in the starting lineup because they had that long win streak there when he got into it. So and we're still going to see Mitch Rob for a good amount. This rotation is tightening a bit for the Knicks, and they're only playing their best players now. So I do think they're going to continue to keep going upwards on their trajectory. But another team that has been not upwards on their trajectory, but now they've sort of just middled out is the Nets. They kind of had like a nice rise. They were in the top 10 in defensive rating. They're actually the best defensive team for a pretty long stretch there. Then they started to have some injuries, and MPJ missed some games, and then they had some tough losses. They've had a really tough schedule as well. This is not a tough opponent at all. This is the Pelicans now on the second night of their back-to-back, and we've got Brooklyn coming in with the rest advantage, and that's actually been pretty key for Brooklyn in a lot of ways, and that's on purpose because Jordi Fernandez is playing guys, backups on back-to-backs on limited rest situations. He's limiting guys like Nick Claxton at times, not MPJ, but definitely Nick Claxton. MPJ's out there for full all the time, and I just think that the guys that they're going to trot out there I don't know who the Pelicans are going to trot out there at this point. I don't know what their rotations are going to be. They only lost by 12, I suppose you could say, to the Nuggets last night because they were hanging around and actually winning that game for a while until the Nuggets pulled away at the end on the road with their pseudo squad. So I think when you look at the Nets, like, yeah, in their last 5, they lost all 4 of those 5. Their only win coming against the aforementioned Nuggets about a week or 2 ago, like 10 days ago. Really, the key here is like all the games they've lost. So the Clippers at full health, the Magic basically at full health without Franz, Memphis, and then lost to Dallas a couple of nights ago. all teams that, like, I guess I don't have too much respect for Dallas right now overall, but they're also missing a couple guys in that one. That was the second night of the back-to-back I mentioned, where they didn't play Claxton as much. They don't play their starters nearly as much when they're in that situation. Coming in fully rested, like they've been keeping everything close in some tough games, both on the road and at home. I think in this one with the rest advantage, they come in, they're only at like a -3 net rating in that time frame, barely losing these games and covering for most of them. So I still think this is a better squad than is being given credit for in the market, and Pelicans might be getting more respect than they should, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, interested in the under for sure. What is it, like 232?
Is it still that high?
They're like
Yeah.
228 for like they
Yeah.
can't put a Pelicans under
Yeah.
like
It's
a
228 and a
total
half now. Yeah.
228. Yeah. I think there's definitely a correlation between the Nets winning. Like, I don't know how often the Nets have won and gone over. Not very often.
Probably
They
not.
definitely win on defense. You look at the Pels splits, they're 1-6 on back to backs, scoring 108 a game, playing slower.
Yeah.
They lost 119 to 101 to these Nets. And the Nets, yeah, I mean, their defense has been pretty locked in for a while here. Yeah, so no matter who New Orleans throws out there, I mean, it's at least Trey Murphy's not going to have the same kind of night he did against Denver. Yo, Mitchell and Maxey going head to head here, putting on a show. I was surprised that punching these in right away. This is the first thing I looked at. Got you plus money. It's like, excuse me, like these guys are not going to score 25 in this particular matchup. I mean, it's a spot for Donnie more than a matchup, but I mean, talk about Maxey with the matchup, like it doesn't get any better if you're a quick guard right now. The Cavs cannot stop guards at all, like just getting absolutely roasted by Keontae George, who last season they absolutely shut down. And he's like, well, look, I got some tricks, and you guys actually suck at perimeter defense. So now you bring in the most unstoppable, like, quick guard in the game right now. He was averaging a cool 28 in the last 3 against Cleveland. When these teams met in October, Donnie had no problems with the Philly defense. With Kelly Oubre, who was in there for 38 minutes, Donnie scores 46 on 15 for 21 shooting. And now you say, well, they got Oubre and Paul George, who is a solid defender. Well, last January, when both those guys played 38 minutes, Donnie had 37 against the Sixers. Like, he can score anytime he wants. I mean, if he wants to take over games. There's also a trend here, though, that he's coming off a down game. And I split it out. His last 6 after shooting sub 45%, averages 35 a game. You take the last 10, averages 33 a game. So he doesn't have bad games back to back. I mean, he sort of had a couple bad ones here, considering the Jazz disaster that the Cavs just put up there was after a somewhat subpar game where he still scored, I mean, 28 plus. But like I said, going into that Jazz one, it seemed like they were really trying to get DG in the rhythm, let him operate more, let Donnie take a little bit of rest. He actually rested a game last week, right? And now I think he's going to be ready to go and ready to just kind of like light it up here in Philly.
It should be the case. If he doesn't have problems with the wing defense for this Philly squad, they're kind of built to try to stop, obviously, all the wing stuff there with, I guess, Joel playing some kind of drop defense, if you call it that. So, yeah, I think Donnie's going to have his pick of what he wants to do, though, like, especially if they try to crowd him at the 3-point line. Then he's going to get into the lane, and that's where I just don't think they're going to have the defense down low with Embiid or not out there. Drummond or not out there. It's just not their strength. So I'm going to go to this Jazz and Bulls game. This has been bet down a ton from 247.5. And I'm still going to take this at this number at 241.5. So we've got the Bulls coming in on the back-to-back. I don't think we know yet exactly about Kobe White specifically, but we know Giddey's still out. We got the Jazz on the road. I kind of talked myself off it. We both liked the Jazz under the other day when I believe they ended up winning and beating the Cavs. Just the aforementioned game you had there, you were talking about a second ago, whatever that was. But the Jazz keep doing that too, by the way. And it looks like they're not sitting guys on the back-to-back. So like any sort of emphasis that they might have had on tanking quietly, if I'm allowed to say the T word, whatever they're calling it internally, right? Strategic win placements or however they want to call it. I don't think they're doing that anymore because we've got both the key guys in terms of, well, Lowry's now questionable. So that would be something to take a look at. I think he would want to play. He's always enjoyed playing against the team that he played for originally in the Bulls here and coming back, whatever you want to call that, revenge. Like, they were like, nah, I don't think Lowry's it. They never treated him like that guy. They had him come off the bench for most of the time that he was in Chicago. I would imagine he's wanting to play in that game. But even if he doesn't, obviously the under is way better. If he does, it's still the Jazz on the road. And as much as like I didn't trust the under even on the road for them recently. Like that is still the trend for them. And the overarching numbers still say that they score 11 points fewer on the road and that they actually play a little bit better defense. They also just play a little bit slower. And this is not the same Bulls team with Giddey. This offense without, I probably bearing the lead a little bit, is more like on the Bulls' just inability to score. They had a pretty good game against the Rockets team that I'm not sure what's going on with them. Only scored 113 against that Rockets defense. And this Jazz squad in their last 5 has only touched 240 when they went to overtime with OKC about a week ago. And when they were playing at Portland, who is now back to playing at a top 3 pace in the league as well. And that one went to 254. Other than that, we're still in the 230s pretty consistently with them. Also, even when they got waxed by the Hornets the other night, that was at home. Also inexplicable. Look, there's been some weird January inexplicable things that have happened, but if we just sort of stick to what the sort of over the longer sample size numbers are that we can use, then we're still going to see that this game should go under.
Yeah, Bulls have been I guess not a sneaky under anymore. They've been a pretty clear under, but you look at their last 3 back-to-backs, the games have actually averaged like 212. They've barely gotten to 100 on these back-to-backs. Kobe White, I think, is going to play, but I think that plays into why I like Ayo. Again, I know you're probably taking him off the board after he let you down against Houston last night, but I mean, the matchup is a big-time flip here when you get the Utah Jazz. And Kobe White being out there is kind of a fugazi, I guess, in terms of the other defense worrying about him a little bit more. And I mean, he's going to play, but he's one of these trade deadline guys now where he's being showcased. He's being, kept in bubble wrap to a degree. Like, all right, you get your 6-minute stint. Now get out of here. Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. And just show everybody what you can do. So the minutes distribution is pretty flat. And Ayo, I mean, even with Trey Jones coming off a career high, is probably going to split even minutes with Trey Jones. Like it's going to be like 28-28 for these guys. That's what happened on the last back-to-back when Ayo goes for 16-4-4 off the bench. Now at home against the Jazz team, giving up 35 dimes a game, I had to add the peripheral stats. Also, like a stat keeper note, you some of these home guys, man, if you just like pass it to somebody and they just make a ton of moves from the perimeter, spin move, pump fake, stop, pivot, and you still get the assist. And that's not technically how assists work, but some of these home stat keepers love to give guys that credit. And Ayo's averaging 6.5 dimes on 10 potentials in his last 5 home games. He leads the team in assist to pass rate in that span. Last 9 without Giddey, 16 and 4.8 dimes. The last 2 with Kobe and no Giddey, 17.5, 6.5 dimes. So that's the type of encouraging stuff you want to see, is like when it's more egalitarian, when you do have that lead scorer. How does Ayo slot in? And he slotted in very well. He shot extremely efficiently from 3. And it's interesting that, you get even money on just 2 threes, which is something the Jazz have given up in droves, is open threes. And he's been knocking down like 50% plus in the last 10.
Yeah, it was just yesterday that he built a house with bricks against the Rockets. Just couldn't sink anything. And that shouldn't deter you from taking him one night later if it's a bad shooting night, but you saw the volume there and you think it continues here in a much easier matchup than against the Rockets, then I'm with it. So I think John Collins is good even if Kawhi plays. If Kawhi doesn't play, I think he goes for 20. I don't think that's like really outlandish to say at all. I don't want to try to guess with Kawhi. I'll probably look stupid either way. Intuitively, it would make sense that you don't need to play against the Washington Wizards. Like Zubac is also questionable, and I wonder how much they're sort of dependent on each other in a way. If one sits, the other, they want the other to play if they can, but they could also just sit both. I don't know. My main thing here is when you have these like really important questionable tags for a teammate, for a guy like John Collins, then just start with the question. If they're both in, do you like John Collins at this number? I think it's like more of a 50-50 bet if they're both in, and I'll take that against the Wizards. And if they're not in, then I think, like I said, the 20 plus right now, if you got it at like plus 200, then that's going to look really good when this bumps up to like 18.5 if both those guys sit, or if one of them sits and it's 17.5 or something to that degree. And there's a little bit of movement upward anyway, because it's the Wizards and they're just continuing to hemorrhage points to bigs in any way, shape, or form. Zubac could be a problem in that sense. At the same time, like, I don't know what the matchups would be, because if he's guarding Alex Sarr, then that means Zubac is going out a bit. And then I also to the perimeter, like John Collins rebounds as well. Like they're 6.5. Was kind of hoping we could see these at 5.5. So I can understand. I would wait on the rebounds because I think that's a little bit more dependent on Izu and Kawhi playing. I think the points are going to be there as a spot up shooter against the worst defense in the league at this point. And down low as well, obviously right at the rim, worst defense there as well. So love that for John Collins in this one.
Yeah, not a lot of supplementary options for the Clippers, if you will, other than like the Harden and Kawhi centric offense, and John Collins is slotted in nicely as that kind of got to step up. I think Zubac is far less likely to play, considering he actually sprained it the other night, and Kawhi's just been listed on the injury report for a week now,
Sure.
right? So it'd be maybe a maintenance thing for Kawhi, but Zoo, I think, probably is going to miss one here, which definitely guarantees more minutes for Collins. Going back to Brooklyn at NOLA, I was going to take Egor on Monday, actually, at Dallas. I was a little wary about it, though, because he got benched last time he played Dallas. I think due to their size and just overall athleticism. And Jordy said, let's get him out of there. But now it's actually a much better matchup, and it's a better number where you can actually get a 10+ points here. I would play it at 10.5 if you get better odds there, but his previous 5 prior to that down game against Memphis, where they sat him with the foot soreness, maybe that was a factor. He was averaging 16.6 with a 121 offensive rating. I mean, lights out from 3, and kind of passing the eye test in terms of just like coming into his own confidence wise as like, I belong in the NBA. I'm willing to take these big shots. He hit those like back-to-back huge shots against Orlando. Got his confidence with MPJ out a little bit, but with MPJ in, his points per game actually double. Another guy you like as more of that like satellite piece around a Sun like MPJ has been this year. He's averaging 13.6 with MPJ. He's averaging 14.5 in 6 with Cam Thomas as well. So just more guys in there means more open looks for Egor, who's also, getting some dimes here, but I mean, he's mostly doing his damage on above the break threes. That is where the Pelicans suck, 3rd worst in the league, and opponents in their last 5 in NOLA shooting 42% on above the breaks. We know Alvarado, Herb Jones are going to be out. Who knows who might else be out, but there's no size to worry about like there would have been with Dallas, with Jeremiah Fears and McGowans and whatever else they're throwing out there. Like this is a fine matchup for him to stay on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what to do with the Jordy Fernandez reasonings at time or rotation, but Zaire Williams out. I mean, Ben Seraph being out actually does help. Cam Thomas still seems to be pretty restricted. I think he's in for his roughly like 25 minutes as his sort of projection. And then there's easily see him playing up to like 28 and higher. So no problem with Demin, as you pronounced it so correctly. Let's go with Miles once again. Stayed off of him last game. I was kind of like, let me just see what's going on here, because we've been definitely following the Miles overs for basically since Josh Hart was out. Josh Hart came back, and I was like, I don't know. And that's what led me to go, you know what, though? Even before that last game, I was like, I could take Miles and feel okay with it. He was just still at about 11.5 points. I thought maybe he was still going to be limited to 26. We've seen him play as few as like 18 to 22 when he's when the team is fully healthy, which it is now. Again, no disrespect to Landry Shamet, who might crack the rotation. Also, Trey Jemison III is on the injury report. No disrespect to you, sir. But this is the full rotation that we see. But now it doesn't really involve much, if any, Tyler Kolek, probably none. Jordan Clarkson down to like less than 15 a night. No Dadier or Yabu, no other French guys coming in. It's just like Miles and Mitch, and then a little bit of Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench. Everybody's playing 30, and it's a better distribution of minutes than it was with Tibbs. I don't want to call Mike Brown Tibbs, but it's still Miles played 35 in this last game, and he seems to be the clear guy that Mike Brown trusts a lot. Like, this is the guy he wants playing 30 now. Miles has raised his ceiling from like, he's not playing more than 26 to he can play as many as he needs to, and I think his floor is 26. So then you start to look at those numbers. Doesn't really matter who he's playing with. He has shot really well in that hot streak as well, like close to 50% overall field goal percentage wise. Still doesn't need to get there. He still took 11 shots in 35 minutes. Like, I think this is just a much better place for him to be at 10.5 points. I'm happy to take this again.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a correlation with the Knicks running away with this thing and Miles putting up a bunch of points down the stretch, like I was talking about at the top of the show. Is like if the starters are able to sit in the fourth quarter, it's going to be your world, Deuce. So I mean, maybe there's a correlation play there with the Knicks and the money line with this core prop, but also like a potential alt line where it's like Knicks minus 17.5 and Miles like going 12 plus at least in that situation.
Yeah, I think you can take Miles to cover, Miles 15 plus, and the Knicks to cover. I think if you want to have some fun with it, which I might do today, is like if Jalen Brunson's at like 29.5 points, I'm like, does he really need to do that? Also, this defense is tailor-made for catch and shoot stuff, and it's not quite as much on the pick and roll or pull-up stuff. That's what they're trying to defend. Just kind of like when Mike Brown was their head coach, it's a similar style defense. Like there's reason to believe that those guys go under, they still cover. Miles goes over. Maybe some starters for sack go under. If you lean into the blowout, you can find some fun ways to play some parlays. But that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel. Coming back to you each and every weekday with this stuff. Also got the NFL playoffs still rolling. So until we see you next, happy betting.